Welcome to Intellicide, where we discuss, who killed intelligence and murdered common sense. I am your host, Anthony Gentry, and my co-host is Kyle Palmenville. And today we're going to talk about Doge and the takeover of the Treasury and the Department of Education.
I mean, it's exactly what they said they were going to do in Project 2025, right? Like that thing.
Right.
So it's yeah. They went in claiming they were going to be doing an audit and
Hmm.
that they were only going to have read only access.
Hmm. Right.
Turns out that was a lie. He wasn't doing an audit. He didn't bring a single accountant. He brought a bunch of
Hmm.
computer hacker interns
Right.
who had write access to the U.S.
Hmm.
Treasury systems. And according to eyewitnesses, they were making changes to the code of the U.S. Treasury payment system.
Right. Right.
So who knows what they've done?
Well,
Other computer experts, besides myself, have posited that they planted backdoors,
mhm.
and I see there's zero oversight. So there's no evidence that they didn't do any of those things. What we
Right.
do know is that they weren't doing what they claimed they were doing. And
Hmm.
other than that, we don't know what they did,
Right.
except that, it was making changes to the code. So,
The problem that I have with this is, and you work in the corporate world as well as I do, and there is a certain uh, way that you have to handle private customer data, to ensure that, hey, we're not misusing that data, that we're not selling it to third parties, etc.
mhm.
So here we have the government and a new agency, and they go in, and
But
as
it's
you said,
not.
well, they have talked about Doge is going to be an official agency.
But it's
So
not.
I understand. I understand it hasn't been no
So,
charter,
so don't say
no.
it's a government agency because it's not a
Okay.
government agency
Okay.
going in and doing
Well,
this. Let's be honest about what it is. It's a private citizen
right.
who is an oligarch. It's the world's richest man who basically took a bunch of hackers into the U.S. Treasury and
But
did nobody knows what.
he's
Now, he
been
started making
empowered.
he apparently was sending out tweets all week, making all sorts of crazy claims about like, oh, we're doing an audit and we're finding like all sorts
Right.
of crimes are being committed, blah, blah, blah. But
Well, okay, but he's been empowered by our current president. No matter whoever he is,
who doesn't
he
have
has
the
the
authority to create government? And this is where I'm saying this is the constitutional crisis that we're in, is that we have a president.
understood.
Yeah.
But again, what my point is that he's been empowered by the president, whether he's legally able to do it or not. The president has empowered him, whether is someone, a
And that's what I'm
government
saying. The
agency.
president does not have the power or the authority to do that. The
I
president is taking on powers he doesn't have.
understood, but again,
And it only
what you just
works
said.
if we accept it. If you accept that he did it and you accept that he can do it, that's how he gets away with it.
Kyle, I'm not arguing that point, sir. You're saying that the power is not legally in the president's hand. That does not counter my argument that he's been empowered, whether it's legal or not, by the president. Under no one else's authority is he
Nobody's arguing
entering
with
these
you that. I
offices.
understand he was given his
Right,
quote unquote
right,
non-existent authority by the
right,
president. Everyone
right.
understands that. I
And,
know that. And what I'm telling
right.
you though is that I don't accept that authority. That's not real
I
authority. That's not a
understand,
power the
but
president
the
has.
problem is that who's going to stop him? Now, the
Right.
second agency that they went into was the Department of Education, and we already saw how Maxine Waters and other Democratic leaders tried to enter the premises, and they were stopped. So, you know, do you get armed security to confront someone
Yes.
and say, "Hey, again, who's going to do that?" Congress doesn't have the authority to the National Guard. They're going to call out the National Guard to help them do that. I don't think they have that authority to do that.
Who? Congress?
Yeah, they have the authority to say, "Hey, the National Guard is going to help us enter a government building." As far as I know, all
Well,
they
it doesn't
control
necessarily
is
have
the
to be the
sergeant at
National Guard.
arms
I
of
mean,
Congress
Congress does have the authority to activate the military. Congress has the authority to
in an
declare war.
emergency.
Now,
Right.
when
In an
Congress,
emergency.
yes, and
Right.
let's be honest, this is it wouldn't a constitutional crisis count as an emergency?
Well,
I mean,
again,
seriously, think about it. If like a Russian agent had gone in and is doing that in the National Treasury, don't you think having the police go in and stop them would be warranted?
well, that's the police. That's
Right.
the police. That's not the same as the National Guard. And
Yeah, that's what
again,
I'm wondering. Like, why aren't they calling the police to stop this? I mean, it's part of what I'm this is part of what is frustrating me is the number of people who are simply accepting this. That he comes in and just declares, I have this power now. And what lets him get away with it is when enough people just go, okay,
isn't that how Vladimir Putin became who he is now? After Medvedev, I think is how you pronounce his name, after he left office and Putin
mhm.
came back into power.
Well, I
And
mean,
he's
Putin
been
never
elected.
really left. I mean, let's be honest. Putin was
Well,
given this office by Yeltsin when Yeltsin wasn't able really to handle it. Putin took over, and
Putin
he's
took
never
over
really given it. I mean, he
and
he
then
gave up the pretense of it.
okay, well, I mean, again, whether you say Medvedev was a figurehead or whatever, I'm saying that he wasn't president when
Right.
Medvedev was in power
Hmm.
or president, and then he came back. Now, whether he was pulling the strings or not, I believe he was, but I don't have any like concrete evidence to show that he was.
Hmm.
All I'm saying is that that's how we got Putin and other, you know,
Right.
dictators, autocrats, or whatever, where people they stepped back, allowed them to do that. Now you're saying that this is a constitutional crisis, then Congress should do something. But as we
Damn
know, the
straight.
Democrats are not in power. They're not the majority.
No, they're not. But that doesn't matter.
Well, it
The
does
Republicans
in
in the
this
last four
case.
years managed to stop anything from happening while they were in the minority. And the only reason they did that is because they used every lever they could, even in the minority,
Mhm.
to stop and obstruct everything that was going on. And frankly, that's what a lot of people want to see the Democrats doing right now. And that's why a lot of people are pretty pissed off. That's why the Democrats' approval rating is so low right now, because most of the Democrats are pissed that the Democrats aren't doing anything.
Mhm. Hasn't that been an argument about the Democratic Party for a long time now?
Yeah.
I-
Because the
So
Democratic,
again,
because let's be honest, America has two right-leaning parties. They have a
mhm,
center-right party in the Democrats, and they have a far-right party. And
mhm,
that's long been the criticism, right? Is that
mhm,
the Democrats are accused of being a left-leaning party by the far-right party, but their policies are always consistently center-right, which is why the left is always so disenchanted and disappointed in them.
mhm,
Like the overwhelming majority of Americans want universal health insurance.
mhm.
That's a mainstream opinion.
Right. I believe
But
that,
if you go
especially
by
with
the Washington standards, it's a far left opinion because the political establishment is so far entrenched in the right in America.
mhm. Well, I don't think there's a solution in the two-party system.
No,
I
I don't
really
either.
don't. And you know, that's all we really have in this country. The problem that I have with them entering into the Treasury Department, like you said, we don't know exactly what they were doing, and
It's going to
the
cost so much
information that they
money.
have, right?
We have to do
The
an
info
audit after this is over and everything. It's going to cost us money to have to go in and do an audit to clean up whatever they just did.
Right, but the information that they have access to is what I have a problem with. We don't know what they're going to do with that information.
Right.
They can have access to social security numbers, they can have access to, account numbers. And as you said, who are these young men that went in there with Elon Musk? Do they have, I don't think that they have any classified information through the payee system, but maybe they do.
They do.
Do these guys have security clearances?
when you're dealing with
That's
government
that.
systems, like you and I talked about, like PII, right?
Hmm.
Personally identifiable information. If you're working in a
Hmm.
corporate environment, PII information is considered some of the most sensitive information that you work with. When you're working in the government, PII information is classified because now you're talking like federal law applies. So yeah, when you're talking about the payee system and how, like, because when you're talking about the payee system, you're talking about people's names, addresses, phone
Hmm.
numbers, bank account information.
Right.
Like, you don't get more sensitive information than that. And they just handed
Right.
it over to a 19-year-old kid who goes online by the name, uh, oh my God, what was it again?
You talking about the one with the racist tweets, the
Yeah, I
eugenics?
don't remember. Yeah, I think it's the same kid, but there was one of these kids. Man, they Yeah, and they're interns, is what they are. They range in age. The oldest one's
Right.
24 years old. Oh no, that was it. The
Mm.
24-year-old was the one who got busted for the racist tweets, and he quit initially. He resigned, but Elon
Mhm.
just hired him back yesterday because
Right.
Elon decided he doesn't care about
Right.
racist tweets.
Right.
Because of course not, because he's the kind of guy that throws a Nazi salute at a presidential inauguration.
Right. Yeah. I mean it the information is what I have a issue with, and what they're going to do with it. No oversight whatsoever
Mhm.
into this process.
Well,
Now,
think like a billionaire for a second, right? Like, what would you do if you were given access, unfettered access to the U.S. Treasury system?
well, I mean, again, the information or whatever that you have access to, you can categorize that, especially with AI now. And it almost harkens back to Captain America. What was it? What was the one when Hydra
Oh,
was it?
yeah, it was the Winter Soldier
Yeah, and so with that information, you can literally start. Okay, let
targeting
me
people.
check this person's social media history.
Mhm.
Let me see what they've been doing, you know, with their bank account, and stuff like that. We're entering the realm of fiction becoming reality,
Yeah,
and that's where I'm like, people don't understand how dangerous this is.
yeah.
Um,
So I don't know if you ever get a chance. Think I sent you a link to it, but I opened a Substack this week
mhm,
and I wrote an article about how if you've ever read George Washington's retirement speeches, this
mhm,
is exactly the crisis that he warned us about,
right,
right? Like when
right,
one party, so that they designed a system where the three
mhm,
branches of government were supposed to be checks on each other. That's the checks and
mhm,
balances, right?
mhm,
The political parties aren't actually a part of the system that they designed.
mhm,
Their existence short circuits the checks and balances that the framers designed.
mhm,
Because what happens instead is they're more loyal to their party than they are to the country. And so the three
right,
branches of government collude along party lines,
mhm,
which is exactly what we're seeing right now. Congress, under the leadership of Mike Johnson, has ceded its responsibilities to Elon Musk.
mhm,
And they are letting Elon Musk take the responsibility they're supposed to have been doing, and they're letting him go do whatever he wants. Now, he has long been a proponent of like doing away with democracy and going to like there's a whole that a lot of these techno billionaires follow a guy who writes about like this utopian idea of having AI take over the government.
mhm,
Right, and like technocracy where that's run by an A, where we all live in a country run by an AI instead
mhm.
of by elected representatives and human beings. That's kind of their goal. And but so I wouldn't be surprised if he's
I,
installing AI in the U.S. Treasury
I,
system. But
I,
my
I don't,
personal
I
other
don't
fear
think,
is
I don't think any rational individual can really accept that, accept, and
I
I
don't
don't know
know,
if you
man.
saw that.
We live in America though, so I think you can rule rational people out.
You remember that movie I, Robot with Will Smith?
Yeah.
So remember the scene where the young lady is going down in the water in the car, and the robot makes a decision based on the statistical probability of this person will live, that person will probably die.
Mhm.
And so, right, if you have an AI making decisions based on statistics or whatever, that no, I don't think most people would want to do that. Hey, if I this goes back to the conversation we had about the healthcare system. If I need some kind of treatment or surgery or whatever to save my life, to me that's not a statistic thing. I don't care if my chance of living is 45% or less. I want that. Do the surgery. What
Mhm.
as an AI or someone who's trying to think, numbers, oh well, you have less than a 50% chance of living, so no, we're not gonna do it. You don't want someone making a decision like that.
Well, especially when it depends on how that AI is coded, right? Like if the AI is originally coded by capitalists who want the
Right.
AI to take into consideration, well, are we gonna lose money on you? Like,
Right.
there's a 49% chance that you'll live, so it's less than a 50% chance, and we might lose money on you.
Right.
But now the AI, like otherwise, if the AI is programmed like try to save as many people as you can,
It
no
come
matter what,
Cal,
but
Cal, we're talking about people who do these things to make money.
yeah, yeah,
I haven't heard one person with these AI programs come out and say, "Hey, I'm trying to make a better world." No, they actually want to make money off of this stuff. Now they may
mhm,
not be making money right now, but that's the ultimate goal.
of course,
Now, look, I'm someone I do believe that there is waste in government spending.
of course,
You can't
of course there
have
is.
people or whatever and know how people spend and say, okay, yeah, there's no waste. We talked about you and your latte machine or
Mhm,
whatever. I know there's people that go out there, they go to Starbucks or any other coffee shop, they spend $10 on a certain size coffee or
mhm.
whatever. And hey, that should not be in my budget. I do that every day. I spend this much money on coffee or other activities. So, yes, could there be some, way to look at that with accountants like you said, okay, right. We need to tighten our belts. Maybe we lower or eliminate certain aspects. So I don't believe Doge and the way that they've shown how they're going in and doing this stuff, they're doing it for cost savings. They're doing it as a political, you know, assassination of programs that don't fit their agenda.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. Programs that were created and funded by Congress that not even the president has. So the president's been trying to eliminate um, whole sections of government by just executive order. And the thing is,
Right.
they were originally created, like U.S. aid was
Mm-hmm.
created by Congress.
Right.
So it would take an act of Congress to get rid
Mm-hmm.
of it. The president is trying to claim that he unilaterally has the authority to just do away with whole sections of government that he doesn't like.
Right. Right.
Um, and that's the constitutional crisis we're in, right? Like we have
Mm-hmm.
someone trying to assert the powers of a monarchy again.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Right.
yeah, he's backed by, it was fascism as a term was originally coined by Benito Mussolini
Mm-hmm.
in Italy. And
Mm-hmm.
he's the one who described it as a merger of government and corporate power.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much exactly what we're looking at here, right? Like corporate power is taking over government resources for
Right.
themselves so that they can
Right.
try to make money off of those resources. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, who knows what he's done to the Treasury system? Planted back doors, planted Trojan bombs,
Mm-hmm.
planted something, that he uses to blackmail the government later down the road if they decide, like, hey, you know what, we want to renegotiate the contract with Starlink or SpaceX or whatever. he's going to be like, no, you're not. You're going to give me better terms, or I'm going to hit this button, which is going to blow up the Treasury or whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, do you think he's beyond that? I don't.
No, I don't think he's beyond that too. And I got another, almost conspiracy type idea. What if he's giving this information to say, Putin or other hostile governments?
Right.
Hey, look, we're paying this person or whatever, the government, uh, their CIA. Hey, this company that we're paying in your country, they're probably a,
A
CIA
CIA.
corporate, right.
Right. Right.
So that to me is a little bit more dangerous. And trust me, Elon Musk, the man has made billions, selling his cars and other ventures. And hey, Tesla's, some people love them. To me, they're a little bit unesthetic on the inside. I don't care for them. Some of the build quality issues. But
They used to be
hey,
nice.
huh?
They were nice a while ago.
Well,
Um,
again, it's
but
just too plain Jane in the interior for my liking.
yeah,
You know,
in my
but
opinion, the Cybertruck has got to be the ugliest car ever
oh,
invented.
absolutely, absolutely. It's not something that is aesthetically pleasing. But again, when
I
I'm
mean,
sitting in my car,
yeah,
I want to like the interior of my car. The
same,
outside
yeah,
means a little bit less to me,
yeah,
but even I'm not driving no Cybertruck.
yeah.
It looks too
I like the
monstrous.
original design of the Cybertruck that I carved out of a wood block for the Cub Scouts when I was doing the Pinewood Derby. That was the original Cybertruck design, as far as I'm
He
concerned.
stole your idea, man. You
He
should
did.
sue.
He did. Me and every other kid who ever did a Pinewood Derby car and did the bare
So,
minimum to make it a car.
what do you think would be the possible consequences of them going into the Department of Education? Um,
Well, they've stated Project 2025 has openly stated that their goal is to eliminate the Department of Education. So I think that's ultimately what they're going to try to do.
mhm.
So they're going to go
Yeah.
in and start dismantling it. They're going to go in and start taking it apart.
Well, I mean, they talked to, the Republicans have talked about dismantling the Department of Education for a while now. I
Yeah,
mean,
they're doing it. I think
yeah,
that's what
and under his previous administration, he had Miss DeBoss or DeBoss,
Betsy
uh,
DeVos. Yeah,
yeah, as the Secretary of Education. And honestly, I think as much as we talk about wanting to make America great again, how do you do that when you have people in your administration literally trashing Americans, their intelligence, their work ethics, um, all manner of vile comments or whatever.
hmm
But yet your slogan is to make America great again.
no,
I don't understand.
yeah. I mean, I don't understand it either. I don't get it. I don't have enough hate in my heart to be a MAGA. Um, but it's here, right? They've already
Right.
started. So the dismantling is upon us. So I'm starting to be of the opinion that really maybe the most efficient use of our time now is to start talking about what we can implement when we build back. After this is
Mhm.
over and the smoke clears and they've destroyed it and we need to rebuild, what should we rebuild? How should we make it better? You know?
Mhm.
So,
Well, it's funny. My mother actually sent me this video this week, and I forget the professor, the author's name. I want to say it was Wolf, and he made a correlation about uh, the United States is basically an empire in decline, and it's not a fun thing to experience an empire that's on the downswing.
yeah.
And then one of the comments was he made a comparison or parallel between zombie corporations and the United States. And honestly, I can see that. We're literally all we're doing is paying the interest on our debt. And we're not making a profit. We're not making a dent in the principal of that debt. So it's
Mhm.
just going to continue to grow. Um, if we continue on our trajectory. And I don't want to see as much as this country does have issues and areas that it needs to get better in. I still I love my country. I don't want it to see it end, but I also don't want to see it being the 10 cent 10 imitation of what it was or what it could
Mhm.
be.
Yeah.
um and it's terrible. And I made a comment to a friend of mine. It really tears me up when people refer to other Americans as the enemy.
Hmm.
You can have disagreements, you can have arguments, you know families have arguments, but you don't say, hey, you're my enemy. That's a framing and a mindset or whatever that it's hard to come back from. Somebody that's your enemy or whatever, they don't want anything good for you. Most of them, I mean, the Christian, commandment, love thy enemy or whatever. A lot of people don't adhere to that.
Oh yeah.
They can't even comprehend what that entails. But we get too loose with that language, and I think is terrible.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I've been, yeah, hearing that my whole life. I
Right.
remember growing up and you'd hear Rush Limbaugh on the radio up in mid-Michigan where I grew up because that was like
Mm-hmm.
the only station that we had at the
Right.
time. And that was all he would talk about is how,
Right.
Democrats are the enemy and all that. And he was building up that whole mindset that now,
Yep.
um, is so pervasive.
Yes.
And that's, a lot of the MAGA people say things like that. They'll say,
Mm-hmm.
they trust Putin more than they do Democrats and things like
Right.
that. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you lose your country,
Right.
because you've turned your back on your fellow countrymen, and
Mm-hmm.
they've been manipulated into it. So
Right.
and this is where I'm starting to be, like, so they're gonna tear everything down. They're gonna realize it's so much worse after they do that, and we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to rebuild again.
Right.
Um, so what do we do when we rebuild? Like, how do we make it better than it was before? In my personal opinion,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like you were saying earlier, we need more than two parties. This first past the
Mm-hmm.
post winner take all system doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. Two parties are way too easily corrupted. There
Mm-hmm.
needs to be the problem with the two-party system is that it discourages cooperation, right? Because
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's winner take all. There's no
Right.
reason to cooperate with other people. If you have more
Right.
of a like a what do you call it, ranked choice voting or something
Mm-hmm.
that encourages multiple parties, then you encourage coalitions forming and you encourage people to work together.
Parliamentary systems,
Yeah, yeah, parliamentary
work in that
system.
manner. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really where when we rebuild, that's what we need to do.
Right.
And in my
Yeah.
opinion, the other things, anything having to do with life and death,
Mm-hmm.
so police, fire, health insurance, should all be
Mm-hmm.
public services
Right.
paid for with your taxes.
I
You
I,
know,
I agree with that. I mean, we do it on a local scale. You go to the ballot box or whatever. There's all these initiatives to pay for police, buildings and fire department, issues with a millage.
yeah,
So right. I agree with you. I Hey, stop charging me through my company or whatever for health care. Hey, let me
right,
have a millage or whatever. And right, you make a certain amount of money or whatever, your house is a certain amount of money. Hey, that's how much you pay in healthcare.
yeah, yeah. Or, yeah, it's, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, I agree. So we're just about out of time here.
Yep. Okay. Well, hey, it's been fun, man. Hopefully we'll be around when the rebuilding takes place.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, this has been one of our more contentious episodes. I like it. We'll see.
Hey, it's cool, man. No issue, sir. I don't consider you an enemy, but a friend.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I don't.
All right. Well, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you next time as we sign out. This is Anthony and Kyle and Intellicide signing off.